The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to another segment of our show, Living United with Nashua Business. This television show is one where we highlight and spotlight businesses in the community who are very involved with the process of giving back to the community through philanthropic good work in one way or another. Today we have with us a couple of really exceptional guests. We have Larry Goodhue, who's the CEO of Pennichuck Water, and we have Bernie Rousseau, who's the Vice President of Service and Distribution. Service and sales for Pennichuck as well. So gentlemen, thank you for coming on our board.
Thank you
for having us, Mike.
So one thing I always try to say right up front is just sort of a little truth in advertising so people know a little bit about what's up with what. Bernie is also very involved with the United Way, has been for a long time.
Yes, been on the board for 8 years now, Mike.
That's a long time.
Long time, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
How many years is that in like people years?
With 7, 8, so a long time.
So, and you have done a lot of really great work on our board. You chair our nominating committee.
Yes, yeah.
You chaired our campaign committee, which is our fundraising.
Yes, yeah.
And you're on our executive committee.
Executive committee.
So that's
Good
great.
Opportunity to meet some very nice people and great people. Do a lot of work for United Way.
Well,
So
we appreciate that. And you also do volunteering stuff too. And we'll get to that a little bit later as well, I'm sure. Exciting things like sleeping in a box in front of the community college.
In the rain.
We'll talk about that. So, and Larry, thank you as well for being on. We appreciate that.
Yes.
So I want to start out with a little bit of personal stuff,
Sure.
Just to give some background. So Larry, are you a native? Are you from Nashua originally? It seems like half the people that come on my show are, and half of them not.
And I'm one of the ones that fall into the latter category. I'm not from Nashua, and I've never lived in Nashua. I've lived in southern New Hampshire for a great many years. I'm originally a Midwestern guy, born and raised just outside Chicago until my teens, and then moved to New England. And I've actually lived in the state of New Hampshire since late 1972, so a long time.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yes.
Now we've only been here, I say only, for about 20 years myself, and but that's not long enough. If you are not third generation, it's like
You're not from here.
You're a flatlander. You're from away.
Right.
So welcome. I guess we can commiserate about being from away. And yourself, Bernie?
Born and raised in Nashua, Mike. Attended local schools. Attended St. Anselm and got married shortly after that. And I've been with, I live in Merrimack now and started with Pennichuck in May of '78. So it's been,
So you moved away.
I moved away, way away.
Is it?
Probably about 10 miles, if that, from where I was born.
A couple of exits and
a couple
a
of
few
exits
tolls.
on 3 and a few tolls, and here I am. So.
And how long have you been with Pennichuck Water?
I'm starting my 40th year this month, Mike.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
40 years, congratulations.
Thank you.
I
It's
hope
been
you've
great.
got a big, to-do going on for this guy.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
No, it's been a great, it's been a pleasure working for Pennichuck, an honor. I was kind of blessed where my grandfather worked here and my father worked here.
Also for Pennichuck.
Yeah, so I'm third generation Pennichuck. So
That's
so
incredible.
it's
I did
in the
not
blood.
know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's in the blood. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been great.
Well, we'll definitely want to talk about
Sure.
that because I think that's very, very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Larry, you've been with Pennichuck for
About 10 and a half years now, Mike. I actually started with Pennichuck as a consultant for a couple of months and then joined as the corporate controller a little over 10 years ago.
So if
and
you
then
were
it
the
worked about fine.
controller 10 years ago, you probably were I'd imagine you were very involved with when the acquisition went through with the city and taking over and all of that.
At a level, yes. We had a former senior management team prior to the city's acquisition of Pennichuck Corporation. I was in the controller role, so I did have some direct involvement with that. I wasn't one of the ones primarily at the negotiating table at that time.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you get involved with in your role as well with like PUC stuff and rates and all of that too?
Very much so. My role now is the tentacles are a lot deeper in a lot of areas relative to that. Yes, I work directly with the PUC, with the Department of Environmental Services, with various representation from Nashua and the communities that we serve up at the State House. So I have a lot of outward reaching parts of my role at this point in time.
Interesting. Yeah, we had one of our other board members, Heather Tebbets, who is with Liberty Utilities and works for them as in the capacity of PUC and rates and whatnot, telling us about her job on one of our shows. And it was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting. She's like, this is really boring. I hate my job. I'm like, no, come on, it's amazing. It was actually pretty incredible. And so that's great. Now, you guys have gone through a lot of expansion in the last couple of years as well. Is that?
Well, I guess the expansion is a little bit different than it used to be. Up until 2012, we were a publicly traded corporation, which I think many of the listeners would be aware of.
Yeah.
Our name was in the press a lot leading up to 2012, and still is to an extent. January 25th of 2012, the city of Nashua acquired the corporation out of public company status as a settlement to an eminent domain dispute that had gone on for almost 10 years. Relative to owning the corporation. So at that date, we ceased to be a publicly traded company, and now we're a closely held, privately owned corporation with one shareholder, being the city of Nashua. So we're not a city department, we're not a part of the city. We're a unique entity not only in the state of New Hampshire, but nationally. We're the only corporation in the state of New Hampshire that can have as its shareholder a municipality. And that's because a statute was actually put on the books in the eminent domain statutes allowing for the acquisition of Pennichuck by Nashua. And there's no other entity that's exactly like us in the entire country. So it's a little bit different. And based on that, how we grow now is more organic, Mike.
Right.
We serve part or all of 30 different communities in the state. And so wherever we have a legal franchise area where we might have the entire town or a portion of a town, we've got an obligation to serve within that town. So as growth happens in that town within our franchise areas, we've got an obligation to be the public water company.
So I didn't realize that. Pennichuck doesn't just serve. So when I've thought about Pennichuck in the past, I've thought about, well, my daughter went to school at Pennichuck, right?
Sure.
So there's the pond.
Yes.
And I figured, Pennichuck must just be all the pipes and hoses and everything connected to that pond. That's Pennichuck.
Yeah,
it's a lot more than that, sounds
It's
like.
a lot more than that. We've got, the corporation is comprised of 5 entities, Pennichuck Corporation being the parent, and 5 wholly owned subsidiaries, one being Pennichuck Water Works, which is what many people in Nashua know because Pennichuck Water Works serves Nashua as well as part of 10 other communities. We've got a Pennichuck East Utility subsidiary, which serves 19 different communities. And then our Pittsfield Aqueduct Company, which serves the town of Pittsfield, New Hampshire. And then we've got a real estate holding company called Southwood Corporation, which holds some lands adjacent to our ponds. And then there's the Pennichuck Water Service Corporation, which Bernie heads up that effort relative to running contracts for about 85 other entities that we do not own.
So
What does that mean?
Well, it's pretty expansive. You'd have the utility end, and then you have the non-regulated end, which is the service company. As Larry mentioned, in the regulated end, we own and operate 66 water systems in a number of communities, 30, I believe, Larry.
Yes.
Outside of that, as Larry mentioned, we contract operate another 85, where we will go in and due to regulation, system complexity, system chemistries, whatever the case may be, aging workforce, we will be invited in by either a municipality or a privately owned water system to come in and operate their system. And when I say operate, that ranges everything from distribution system, treatment, or potentially just doing their billing, collection, and customer service. So there's a variety of services that we offer.
Interesting. So, and I understand you've only been around for a couple of years too, right? I think Pennichuck invented water.
I think, yes, we did. We did, as a matter of fact, yes. Yeah, no, the service companies that we've been around since 1852.
That's incredible.
And
that's a long time. That's a long time for any entity to be around.
Yes.
It's like a German beer company.
Sure. We actually started
It's a long
off,
time.
a long time. We actually started off in 1852, Mike, as the Nashville Aqueduct Company. And when...
Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
And then when two portions, the north and south ends of the Nashua River, the populations there met, and I won't get into all that history, Nashua was formed.
Yeah.
So in 1853, we had to change our name from Nashville Aqueduct Company. Our founders selected Pennichuck Water Works, and Pennichuck is Indian, from what we've heard, for winding or crooked stream.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
And so one thing I wanted to ask is, have you ever or contemplated going into the bottled water business?
A lot of people would think that we might do that.
I would think so, because our water's awesome. Why shouldn't we bottle it and sell it,
It's
right?
a whole different industry. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, as a regulated utility, as a public water supplier, we're held to certain standards that are in one domain. Bottled water is a whole different domain. You're talking the FDA there versus
Really?
you know,
Okay.
the EPA and the DES.
Interesting. Yeah, I just think our water's great. You know,
Yeah, thank you.
I
Thanks.
turn on the faucet and I think of you every time I do. Well, not
Mike,
every
thank
time,
you.
but a lot.
A
You
lot.
know,
All right.
good.
and I'm like, this is pretty good.
It is.
I like
It
our
is.
water.
Yeah, we're really proud of it. We have a 35 million gallon a day treatment facility in Nashua on the Nashua Merrimack line, really at the headworks of our pond system.
Yeah.
Where we have a fairly complex treatment process, great staff and manager there, and we're really proud of the product we put out.
Yep.
You know, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
So besides the residential user, you must have a lot of industrial customers,
We do.
I'd imagine, as well.
Commercial and industrial, yes.
Who are some of your
Well,
larger?
one of our larger customers in this area would be Anheuser-Busch.
Anheuser-Busch, the brewery.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and I think I was actually aware of that. So,
Yeah, since 1969.
okay.
Yeah, back in the day, we actually ran a 24-inch line from where the treatment plant is now into Merrimack right to the brewery.
So how much water goes through a 24-inch line?
A lot.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You invited the wrong guys to this meeting to answer that question. Our engineering staff could handle that
Could
one.
handle that.
A lot. That's what the chemist says. A
Yes,
lot.
exactly. No,
That's great.
But a sizable flow.
That's
with
incredible.
24-inch.
That's great. So one thing I did want to touch on, or talk a lot about actually, is the giving back to the community. Seems like it's a big part of what Pennichuck does as a corporation. And I mean, I know we can talk all day about what you do with United Way, but I want to talk a little bit about what are some of the other ways in which you do get involved. You know, Larry, you get very involved with me on the in the chamber,
Right.
on the advocacy committee. So we see each other there quite a bit. What are some of the other ways in which Pennichuck gets involved and Pennichuck employees maybe get involved?
Well, you know, as a corporation, we consider ourselves a little bit more unique. We consider ourselves to be a citizen within this state, and we take our citizenship very seriously. We provide a resource to people that's vital for life. Okay, water is part of that, and so as a result, that's just one part of what we do. Our employees also feel very dearly about contributing back to the community, and as a corporation, we feel the same way. So we have a budgeted amount of money each year that is designated for charitable giving. We have a charitable giving committee. Bernie is a member of that committee who sits down each year based on this authorized amount and designates how that money is to be given out to the various qualified charities. And we look at within our footprint, within our customer base is where we're really looking at that.
Exactly.
In addition to that, many of our employees are involved either on their own or through corporate efforts into various entities. We participate in a number of the charitable walks or fundraisers. For the last 2 years, we've had the largest team at the Nashua Soup Kitchen run and walk.
Fantastic.
So
My
we-
wife is on their board, so
Yeah.
she'll be glad to hear about that.
Yep, and so
Very
we've had
successful.
great representation. We've got a number of people that are being involved in the cystic fibrosis walk this weekend at Mines Falls Park. There's a number of people who participate in the United Way Day of Caring on an annual basis. I guess we've done that for a number of years.
You certainly have.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And
Pennichuck.
other things, Wounded Warrior, and different things like this. So it's a great deal of time as well as effort put forth by our employees.
And Larry was talking about our charitable giving committee, which is greatly supported by Larry and our board of directors. It's funny, Mike, that committee very much mirrors what we do at United Way, in that we're looking at outcomes.
Yep.
You know, we spend a lot of time vetting those requests, and what are those folks, you know, the bang for the buck, so to speak, which is very similar to what we do.
Certainly
and
is.
So, you know, we have a very restricted giving, you know, mechanism and area, but it works very, very well. So consequently, I think the folks that are receiving the funds, or the agencies receiving the funds, are doing a lot for the community.
And those are all volunteers from your employee base who are on the committee?
Yes, yeah, there are 6 of us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
One other way that we deal in the community too is we do a lot of outreach as far as education is concerned.
Oh,
For many
okay.
years, we've done education with 4th and 5th graders in the community,
Yeah.
and or at other different levels. Have participated with different efforts with some of the local colleges. You know, members of our team, Bernie, our chief engineer,
Yes.
our chief operating officer, myself, and others have devoted time. And part of that is about giving back to the community too.
Yeah.
Education is a gift as well to the folks that are out
Do you
there.
ever do tours up in your treatment facility?
We do on a limited basis. One of the things we have is a thing called Water Week each year, where 4th graders from some of the local schools will come through and they get a tour of the plant.
Yeah.
We're very aware of, you know, our role as a public water supplier, and also securing our facilities. So.
Yeah.
What's fun about those tours, Mike, Water Week was just last week, as a matter of fact. National Water Week was last week. But what's
I
interesting
feel
about,
really badly that I don't know that.
well, no, that
I should know
that's
that.
all right.
I mean, it was Water Week.
But what's interesting is
You know, well, Larry said, I mean, this is a life-giving product.
But
I should have known this.
No,
I feel
that's okay.
egg on my face.
But what's fun about these things is that doing these tours, you know, I did them a number of years ago when I was in water supply. I'll be walking around, you know, Pheasant Lane Mall or somewhere
Yeah.
downtown or whatever, and I'll have this woman or gentleman approach me and say, hey, listen, I remember you doing a tour at your water facility, your water treatment plant,
Right.
25 years ago. We had a blast, and I really enjoyed it. Makes you feel great, you know?
Well, you took me on the tour like 2 years ago, I think.
Yes.
And I don't know if I got the same tour as everybody else gets, or maybe I got the deluxe tour. I don't know, but it was pretty incredible. I was actually, you know, you think about water as just a layperson, and I think about, you've got the pond, you've got my faucet, it goes through a pipe, and it gets into my glass. That is not what happens.
No.
And I was really impressed with how much there is. You know, and security is a big part of it,
Yes.
obviously. That's the day and age that we live in.
Exactly.
But also just all the various levels of treatment and making sure that it's a healthy product.
You look at the, you know, the health-related issues with it, and then something that a lot of folks forget is just the fire protection element that's involved.
Yeah.
You know, we have 2,500 hydrants in the city, Larry, and that's huge from a maintenance perspective and just to keep them up and running. You know.
So when somebody comes by and, like, I've got a hydrant right across the street, and they like open it up and all the water comes out for, I don't know, half an hour or whatever, they purge the system. That's you guys. That's not the fire department doing it.
We have an annual flushing program, and we do that depending on the needs in particular areas of our system. You know, some of our pipe is 160 years old, Mike.
Yeah.
It's unlined cast iron pipe. You know, and so one of our goals is when we're flushing those pipes is to knock any things that have accumulated on the inside of that pipe before people are going to have higher usage in the summertime with irrigation.
So like rust or...
Any particulates that are there. We want to flush those out of the system, so we're running those to waste rather than running them to someone's home or clogging their sprinkler system or something like that. So that is a part of our annual, you know, I'm going to say preventive maintenance that we do.
Yeah. And I know you just built a new facility up,
Yes.
up on
Daniel Webster Highway.
Concord Street, right? Yeah.
16 Daniel Webster
Yep.
Highway.
Yeah.
And that's is that part of an expansion or modernization or?
That was in replacement of our pre-existing facility for our distribution department. We used to have a facility over on Will Street. It was about 50 years old. When it was built, we were a company about 1/3 the size we are now. We only served one community versus 30. We had a single-sex workforce. Okay, so it only had facilities for one sex as far as using locker rooms and things like this. It did not have the facilities to efficiently run. So what we did is we completed now the replacement of that facility in anticipation of the next 50 years. And so we moved our facility from that Will Street location to this DW Highway facility and now have what is needed to service our customers now and into the future.
Interesting. And you have a very stable workforce, I noticed as well.
Yes, we do.
Very low turnover.
Yes.
I always would say that I attribute that to the people at the top of the organization because that's driven by culture. But what are some of the keys, would you say, to having that stability over time?
I think that there's a couple of things there. I think number one, it does have to do with leadership, but leadership at all levels within the organization. You know, look at somebody like Bernie, who's been with the company for 40 years. He represents a great deal of stability and leadership, as do others who are long tenured employees. You know, when you can look to people like that who understand the mission of the company and understand it so well that they want to do it, okay? We have people who work for us who want to do the job that they're doing, so that makes a big difference. When I talk about water being something that, you know, is a giver of life, people take their roles very seriously at our company. You know, I can say that I haven't met a single one of our employees who doesn't truly care about the job that they do and why they do it. So.
Yeah, that's remarkable, and it's by no means the way it is everywhere these days.
No, unfortunately.
It's pretty unusual.
But, you know, to echo Larry, every one of our employees realizes the importance of the role they play, and they take it very, very seriously and enjoy it. We're really fortunate, again, where we're supported by Larry and the board, where we have, you know, tremendous equipment, very modern tools, modern equipment, a modern treatment facility. So it allows us to get the work done, but it also makes it interesting and it makes it fun. It really is, it's enjoyable to work, so, yeah, and that's huge.
Yeah, that is absolutely. I did mention we're going to get back to this, so I want to put you on the spot a little bit. The sleeping in the box thing.
Yes, sir, I remember that.
So we're doing that again this year.
Good.
What was that event about from your perspective? What did that mean for you?
You know, Mike, and I said it the following morning when we had a wrap-up session, is it spending that evening in a cardboard box in the pouring rain gave me, how do I describe this? Just an appreciation or an understanding for what I see folks do when I'm driving by them, whether it be in Nashua or in Manchester or whatever, how difficult that life must be. And kind of settles in, at least in my mind, the importance that where I may be blessed or fortunate to have whatever I have, whatever we have, the importance of giving back,
right,
so that we can help these folks out. I mean, that drove that home like crazy, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning when my box caved in. That's when it really sunk in. You know?
Yeah,
literally.
Literally.
Your construction techniques were a little bit lacking.
Well, I
have
mean,
to say.
I was
He's a water guy.
Water guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, who said you had to have a strong foundation?
Well, one of our board members, Kevin Slattery, who's in the construction business, built himself a box that would have withstood a deluge. It was pretty.
It's still there.
Yeah, I think it probably is. It's ready for next year. So, well, good. That's good to hear. I mean, I think that's really the whole point of the event. Is I don't think anybody comes away from that thinking I know what it's like to be homeless, because that's just, if you do, then you just probably didn't get the point. But,
no idea.
But you get a little bit more of a perspective on insights like, what would it be like to do this day in and day out?
Sure.
How would it be to have to survive and think about survival at that level?
Wasn't it interesting, Mike, how up until 9, 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, it was kind of an interesting, fun, upbeat atmosphere. But as the evening went on, like you're there 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, and it's starting to rain, and you realize, hey, I have to stay here until 8 o'clock in the morning and figure this out. The fun came out of it in a big way, you know. So,
yeah, interesting. Well, we'll do that again this year, and looking forward to it. I've got a box with your name on it.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Mike. Maybe we'll get Larry in there too.
Well, maybe we won't. We can start. We got 6 months to work on the old putting the screws.
That'll give Larry now we can say he's a Nashua resident if he spends an evening in that box. So,
by the way, we used to live in the Midwest too.
Did
At
you?
one point, we lived in Crystal Lake for a while.
Sure.
little northwest of
Northwest of the city, yeah. And I actually grew up just due west of the city. So.
Yeah. It's a great area.
Yeah.
Very different, very different.
Yeah.
You can see all the way to Denver from there, pretty
Yeah.
much. So one thing I did want to make sure I asked, and I always ask this, is kind of what's the business proposition from your perspective for giving back, from philanthropic participation in the community? And it's always interesting for me to hear the answers because they're so different from one company to the next, one person to the next.
Well, again, I think it comes back to us being a good citizen within the state. Okay, and that's at all levels within the corporation. As a corporation, we need to be a good citizen in that we need to provide a vital resource to our customers. But then part of that is being involved in our community. And part of that is as a team is making sure we have a cohesive unit, we understand what we're doing, and giving our employees the opportunity to have a voice. And so I think that's really what it's all about. And I think our people take that very seriously. They know that we're going to support them in any way we can in those efforts. I mentioned the cystic fibrosis walk this weekend. One of our employees, a member of his family, has got that condition. And so it's very near and dear to the heart of him as well as all of his coworkers. And all of us want to go out and support him. Yeah. But it doesn't have to just be at that level. So it's really about giving back. So it's less about the corporation wanting to build its brand or building a name. Yep. It's about doing the right thing. We're in a business where that's the basis for what we do.
Yes.
It's not about can we come up with a new widget? Can we sell it into a new country? Can we do something unique? No. We just need to make sure that we do what we do with excellence and on a consistent basis. And so I think that's kind of really cohesive with our basic business purpose is that outreach.
Yeah, I would imagine that thinking probably in some way translates into some of the longevity and lack of turnover and just that feeling of being part of a culture.
I think so.
Yeah, I do as well. Larry mentioned one of our employees having a child with an issue. And it may not be politically correct to say, but there's a feeling of a sense of family when you're helping this person or other individuals out, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's kind of wonderful, actually.
Right.
Well, you guys, individually, personally, and also as a corporation, do give back a lot, and I can tell you that at United Way we appreciate that, and as a community, it's greatly appreciated as well. I have a couple of parting gifts for you, believe it or not. Anybody who comes on the Mike Show gets a gift.
The Mike Show,
all right.
Great.
And it's never a good one. Because, I'm in the nonprofit business, right? So I did bring each of you a Day of Caring t-shirt from our most recent Day of Caring, where we focused on food security in the community.
Great.
So
Mike,
there's one for you, Larry.
Thank you, sir.
And one for you. I know you have a million Day of Caring shirts,
No, that's
but I don't
great.
think you have this one.
I don't.
There
you go.
Mike, how did you guess our size?
I looked in the mirror and guessed my size.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
And I also have a water bottle, so you can put some of your products.
That's apropos, huh?
Absolutely.
Very good.
And Mike, we're proud about having that on.
We're proud of having that on there as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
guys so much for coming on and for what you do.
Great. Thank you,
It's
Mike.
really greatly
Thanks,
Proud.
appreciated.
Really enjoyed it.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.